Howdy, and welcome to LeeReads, where I talk about the books I've been reading and enjoying lately. This is my February reading wrap-up, and I am proud to report that I did a pretty good job of reading books on my physical TBR. The first of those is a book that I've had on my shelf for a while, and I actually put it on my 2024 R Fantasy bingo card, though I ended up swapping it out for Wolfskin, and that is To Shape a Dragon's Breath, which I did do a standalone review and recommendation video for. This is about a young indigenous woman who finds a dragon egg back on her home islands, but then once it hatches and she becomes bonded with it, she has to take it to a settler-run school for dragons. Basically, she finds herself at odds with the differences in how her people view dragons and how the people running the school view it. I really liked how the book explored her relationship not only with her dragon and family, but with this new expansive world that she enters and is trying to find balance in, and how the main character has to face and overcome the expectations of those around her, whether it's she is now honored because she is the one who bonded the dragon, or whether she is looked down upon and assumed that she won't be able to control her dragon because of the type of people that she comes from. I thought it was a fresh take on not only magic school fantasy, but dragon and dragon training fantasy, and I would recommend giving it a try. Next, I had an e-arc, which then became the physical copy because the book was released, for Grave Empire by Richard Swan. This book is set about 200 years after the Empire of the Wolf trilogy. I really enjoyed all three books in that trilogy, and I'm happy to be back in this world, but as things are changing a little bit, a new age of exploration and innovation has dawned, and the Empire of the Wolf stands to take its place as the foremost power in the known world. But dark days are coming, and those dark days take the shape of, well, the main characters aren't sure what it is. Is it a plague? Is it some sort of remnant of dark magic? The three main characters that we follow, one is a young officer, a soldier who is sent out onto the frontier. The second is a diplomat. She's the assistant ambassador to one of the neighboring types of people, kind of the merfolk people. And the third is a politician who's kind of like a mad scientist, and he's really trying to get at the root of what is this plague / magic that is kind of pressing in on the borders of the empire. I found this book very fun to read. I liked exploring sort of the frontier and pushing the bounds of Sova, or as we got to know it in the previous trilogy, which I don't think that you need to have read to enjoy this book, but I think it gives a lot of context as to why things now are the way that they are, especially as it pertains to certain types of magic, and why it may be frowned upon to use these types of magic, and how all of that gets entangled up in the problems that everybody is facing now. I thought that the world building, especially from Peter the soldier's perspective, was really vivid, and there was that same underlying sort of horror to what's going on with this world that I felt in the Empire of the Wolf trilogy. So if you liked the vibes that Richard Swan wrote, like where it's primarily fantasy but with some horror subtext going on, you still get that in this book, which isn't a standalone. It's the first book in a series. I think I just really jive with Richard Swan's writing, and I'm really excited to see where he goes from here. The next book I want to discuss is actually the ending of a trilogy. It is the last book in the Emily Wilde trilogy. This is book 3, Emily Wilde's Compendium of Lost Tales, which came out this month, and I had it pre-ordered, so I wanted to make sure to read it right away. It's hard to really discuss without spoiling major things from the first book. I feel like I didn't connect with Emily as much in this story. Granted, all of it is epistolary. It's told in like these journal entry formats. And I feel like there was so much to wrap up and to do. Like there was a very big thing that the characters needed to do in this book. And in order to make it happen, the pacing was just like, go, 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 go. And you never got to settle in with any of those kind of wholesome, cozy, whimsy, scary, magical, really moments that we got to sit with Emily in that first book, where the first book felt a lot more like exploring these different types of fairy magic. Now it was really like we have to tie up these these threads. Not to say that it wasn't magical. The story was very magical. There was lots of really interesting little things going on. But I just wish that we could have slowed down a little bit and savored and enjoyed the ending of this journey a little bit more with our main character, rather than just it feeling like a pell-mell sort of dash. But you know, it did still have a satisfying resolution. I found myself wanting to read something that was maybe a little less heavy this month, and I still want to be exploring some of the romantasy that's out there, because I do like romantic subplots in fantasy. I'm hoping to find a romantasy where I feel like those aspects bring equal weight to the story. So I picked up one that I've always seen highly recommended, and that was Daughter of No Worlds by Clarissa Broadbent. This follows a woman, Tizana, who was a former slave and is able to escape that situation, but vows to go back to help those that she left behind. In order to help them, she needs to get herself accepted to one of these magical orders that exists in like a nation across the sea, with the hope that if she is successful there, she can bring their power back to help her people. I really liked that this main character was so goal-oriented. She always had a plan. She always was like, this is what I need to do XYZ, and if that doesn't work, then she would try to figure out how to make it happen. So she was very, very driven, and I really admired that about her. The love interest, he was just like, yes, a powerful magic user that she meets in this magical order, but sort of like an unwilling powerful magical user, not just this sort of jerk character. Like, this character, Max, was written like a realistic human that has been through some things in the past, that is sort of just wants to be left alone, doesn't really want to associate with the order anymore. But he is also kind of drawn to Tizana's goals and determination, just like I was as a reader, and wants to help her, and the relationship develops from there. So I think I just liked him as a person, as a character, and wanted to see the pair of them succeed. And I do agree. I think this is a really, really successful example of a lot of fantasy world building, but also a romance that's just not all about spice. It's not insta-lust or insta-love. Like, it really took its time to get developed, so there was emotional impact. And that's what I'm looking for in these types of stories. So I'm really glad that I took Reddit's recommendation and tried Daughter of No Worlds. And the last book that I read was a dark gothic fantasy called Dr. Darko. In London, there is magic, there's sorcerers, powers. It's secret from the normal populace. Our main character, Elizabeth, has had some exposure to it because her late husband was a professor who was interested in archaeological digs and found some sort of magical artifacts, even though he couldn't wield them himself. But after he is murdered, her world is upended, and it leaves her wanting revenge. The only leads that she has is a magical artifact that her husband left her, and it leads her to this sort of secret London society of different types of magics, where she begins to pursue the art of sorcery in order to get what she wants. It is quite like a dark, atmospheric story. I think that the author was very, very successful in that world building and in the whole atmosphere of the story. There's a lot of forbidden love, yearning kind of aspect of the story, which I thought became a little bit overdone after a while. And my main critique of the story was that the character was so focused on one thing and then made some like really questionable decisions in the middle that didn't seem to fit with what was previously driving her. However, that was able to kind of get sorted out, and overall I think the culmination of the story was quite satisfying, and to see this character grow in these powers that had other people in this magical order very nervous. It was almost like, am I reading about a villainous origin story, or is this type of magic just really misunderstood? So exploring the magic that the author built in this world was really cool, and just being steeped in that dark gothic atmosphere. I found myself thinking about this book a lot and wanting to kind of get back into that world and learn about how to tap into her magic, like, with the character. So very successfully done, I think, even though I feel that parts of it could be edited down. Those are the books that I wanted to talk about for this month, so a lot of different types of fantasy. Please let me know in the comments what was your favorite book that you read this month, and are you interested in reading any of these now that you've heard me talk about them. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and as always, don't forget to support your local library. Thanks.